Frank, you mentioned that the spirit of the team was kind of picked up, especially after a win. What have you seen from the past couple of days that makes you think that that's kind of on the upward trend?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we had gone 13 straight days when the Vanderbilt game ended. So yesterday was we met, we watched film, we got some shooting in, talked Bama, talked to us, but it was one of those days where we didn't need to mentally stress them. They you know, I told the team, I said, you know, when I hear young people complain of tired legs, it just makes no sense. You know who's got tired legs? Old fat guys like me when we try to do stuff. You know, young guys don't have tired legs, but their minds get tired. They're not used to the responsibility factor, so they needed a break. But they were great. They were great leading into Vandy. We fought. We didn't play great against Vandy, but we had the spirit you need to win, which we had at Ole Miss. And I'm hoping that our guys learned a valuable lesson from leadership and from preparation for the young guys. Because we just came back from Ole Miss with our feelings hurt. And, you know, league play, you over-celebrate or over-cry, you complicated the next game. And hopefully that was a great teaching moment and something that we get better from.
Frank, after kind of reviewing things, you talked about Evans, the energy he gave you from the jump against Vandy. Looking back on that game, is that something you want to stick with, kind of going forward with him as a starter, maybe bringing Booker off the bench?
Yeah, they both handled things the right way. Frank played a lot better against Vandy than he had played. Yeah, I get the fact that he made a bunch of threes at Ole Miss, but he didn't play real good at Ole Miss. And like I told him, I said, you made threes. Well, you're good at that. But there's other things in the game that you need to do better. And they both handled things the right way. And, you know, Evan gave us what we needed with some toughness baskets from the perimeter, which we had not been getting. And Frank did those other things a lot better. You know, and it's funny. I don't think he made a three that game. I don't. Maybe he did. Maybe. Yeah, he did. But you know what? He helped us win, and that's what matters. Is when guys understand and they bring to the table the things you're asking them to bring.
Frank, Justin said last week that he was trying to be more aggressive and play in the paint a little bit more. Did you see that in practice? And what does that give you guys when Justin's able to get into the paint and get offensive rebounds and get kind of hustle?
Yeah, I just had a bad moment because, like, Justin Mackey's had to practice for us for the last week. I was like, why is Justin talking to you? Minaya went through just a freshman moment. You know, he just didn't play well at Clemson, and he just kind of froze in the moment, and his aggression has been a lot better leading into Vandy than it had been since Clemson, if you can think back that long. His aggression was better. No surprise that against Vandy, I think you saw him scrap up some offensive rebounds and attack the rim a little bit more than he had in the past, and we need that from him. Justin's a good player. Justin's done some real good things for us. Justin went through a couple-week stretch there. Obviously, there's a week that didn't count because we weren't around, but where things didn't go his way, and I'm gonna quote what I said to him: "You look like a deer in headlights," you know, and you know he's regained a little enthusiasm. A lot of times with freshmen, you just got to like make them understand certain things, and because they get wrapped up in the difficulty. Like I told him, I said, Justin, I didn't put you in the starting lineup because you're a good-looking dude or you and I have good conversations. You earned that. Just go play the same way. And I think that made him kind of just realize, like, what am I worried about? Just be aggressive. And I thought he played a lot better against Vandy.
Coach, I'm wondering from your perspective after talking with Evan just a few moments ago, how do you think it impacts a team when you have a guy who was in a football locker room when they had ups and downs this season, finished strong, and you guys are kind of going through a similar deal. How does a guy going through that experience in the football season help, and what impact do you see Evan having on the floor the rest of the way?
Yeah, I mean, and that, and also being in the locker room last year. Evan didn't say boo last year, not boo. I'm just telling you. Now he's more comfortable. That's why he was so excited to get out here. When you're exposed to winning, like those guys did in football, and exposed to winning like we, when we played last year, you tend to like that a lot more than the alternative. And you tend to be more receptive to difficulty and more understanding on how quick that can turn if you don't pay attention to things. And Evan has learned that in 2 years in college. And he brings an aggression. There's no other way to word it, that you only get when you put the chin strap on. I always had football guys on my high school teams. Always. Because they bring an aggression that you have to have. And he brings that. And he brings a certain level of toughness, and he's great, man. I'm telling you, last year he practiced his tail off. He just didn't get as many practices as the other guys. And then the problem was that he had, PJ and 3 senior guards ahead of him, so it was hard for him to get minutes on the wing. But he's got an opportunity this year, and he's been great. He's been absolutely great.
Coach, the way you guys won that game against Vanderbilt, low scoring, a lot of defense, physical game, is that a game that you point to and say, this is how we need to play from here on out, or this is the game where, I think our identity started to form in this game?
Yeah, I mean, the first half was low scoring. What we end up with, 71, 72, something like that. The first half was low scoring. We scored it better in the second half because we attacked the rim. Our guys are learning. I was going to bring something here to share with you guys, and my you-know-what left it in my office, and I don't do a lot of stats, but the Vanderbilt game in the first half, we had 41 possessions. 25 times the ball touched the paint, and we scored 24 points, or it was 21 times the ball touched the paint, and we scored 25 points, whatever we had at halftime, 20, whatever. And this is the first half. 16 times the ball did not touch the paint, and we scored 0 points. We're got guys that are trying to learn, and we have to. And this is my job. This is where I've got to make sure that I help our team. When Chris is not in the game, we have to score at the rim. We cannot be a team that does not attack the paint. That's where Evan brings a dynamic to our team that we didn't have before, with his aggression at the rim from the perimeter. That's where Justin, early in the year, he was doing that for us. He needs to do that a little better. David Beatty likes going off the dribble. David's a little bit in that confusion stage, having to play point guard. When do I go? When am I trying to run the play Frank's calling? And and that's where I have to help me, my staff, myself. That's where we have to help our guys. Is how do we score at the rim when Chris is out of the game? Because if you follow those numbers, that's a problem. That's if you want to score points. I say this all the time, and I tell my oldest son, who's in prep school, who was home for Christmas, and my youngest guy, because they're kids. They watch videos, and they think it's all about watching Steph Curry on those nights that he makes 3 crazy threes. Those aren't the shots that win the game. The shots that win the game are Draymond Green and those guys, and Klay Thompson attacking the paint through cuts. And now you collapse the defense, and the ball goes out, and you make shots, and that's how you win games. And it's the game's won at the rim, not on the perimeter. And when we play in the paint, we score. When we don't, we don't score nearly as much. So I've got to help our team there.
Frank, you mentioned the other things that Book does. where does taking charges play into that? It seems like he really takes pride in that. And have you ever had a guy who was kind of as efficient at it as he is?
Yeah. Dave, I used to, through my last year at K-State, I want to say, we used to do charge drills, and we put guys in there and just plow them over. And we had numerous guys. I don't want to claim this, but this is, once again, if this is false, blame Matt Figger, because he's the one that used to tell me this. But Luis Colon used to lead the Big 12 in charges taken. Angel Rodriguez led our team in charges taken my last year at K-State. When we got here, Michael Carrera took a bunch of charges. And we used to make our guys stand there and take them. Then they changed the whole wording where they said an imaginary charge circle. And if there's any contact near the rim, it's going to be called a block. So might as well jump rather than take charges. So I stopped doing all that stuff because you have to find a fine balance. Now we finally put that charge circle. Protecting the rim is, I just told you, you want to win on offense, score at the rim. So you want to win on defense, protect the rim. And that's a big part of what you do. You know, you got shot blocking and you got charges, and that's how you protect the rim. And Book gives us, you know what happens with that? It becomes contagious. Chris takes charges. Book takes charges. It becomes contagious. You're going to start seeing different guys throw their bodies in there because they start realizing what a great play that is. I'm struggling with the guys from Europe taking charges, though. I think they're allergic to charges in Europe. Limonis and Mendogas went 4 years. They didn't take a charge in practice or a game. And so I don't know. I don't think Mike's taken one either.
Coach, last year, Alabama, you guys had that epic year last year, and then in the SEC tournament, they got the win as well. What was it last year that made them such a tough opponent, and how do they compare? How does this year's squad compare to last year?
I'm trying to figure out who we're little old South Carolina. I don't know why the SEC treats us like they do. You know, why would they send us to Alabama and to Georgia this week, and they're playing for the national championship today? So we're going to go into one building, and they're holding the trophy up at halftime, and the place is going to be bonkers. Seriously, who do we piss off? The advantage we had, I'm being joking here now. You guys love to run with stuff now. You got to be careful these days. The advantage we had on people was the size of our guards. Sindarius, PJ, Dwayne, them three for starters. You know, you come in with Justin Mackey. And our guards, we had big guards. So if you had smaller guards, we can pass over you. I can run stuff to get PJ and Sindarius to elbows, and they're just going to jump and shoot over the top of you. They can get in the paint, and since you were smaller, now you have to foul. Alabama was one of the few teams that was built. Gonzaga was the same way. I'm watching Gonzaga on film, and we all have a kryptonite as people. There's something that we all cave to. You know, we can all pound our chest and say, I'm immune to everything. No, we all have a kryptonite. Last year's, our team's kryptonite was teams that had big physical guards because it would offset the strength that we had. That's what Alabama had. Alabama had Corbin Collins, who's a 6'4", strong, fifth-year senior guard. The kid Ingram, who's a 6'5", super athletic guard. They can offset that size that we had at guards. And, and then they had a kid like, by the way, the young man, no one deserves to end a career the way it ended, Riley Norris. So if I went small with Sindarius at the 4, they had a guy at the 4 that can match up with Sindarius with strength, athleticism, and speed. So they were kind of built a lot like Gonzaga. And that's why those 2 games against them were those knockdown, drag-out fights that they were, because both teams were very, very similar. But so our team's different this year. Theirs is different. Their guards are a lot more explosive from a scoring standpoint, but they're also freshmen. They're not as big and strong as last year's guards were.
Is winning a game like you guys won Saturday a result of you reaching them, or does winning a game like you guys won help you reach this team more?
Winning's a lot better than the alternative every day of the week. It's, I've never understood people say, hey, you lost the game, now you can teach them. Really? I used this reference when I was at the other school after a loss to Missouri. I had, I think you guys have heard me say this story again, but I'm into storytelling. So we were both top 10 in the country. It's the first Big 12 game of the year. We lose at Missouri on national television. We're up the whole game. We lose by 2. And the first question I mean, this guy really went to a real good journalism school. I don't know who it was because the place is 100 people in there. I got no. This question is legit. I'm telling you about the guy that was sitting in the arena watching this high-level basketball game, 2 top 10 teams in the country. He said to me, well, now that you lost, you think you can reach your team? I was like, really, bro? I'll come across the table and grab you. That's what I want to do. As a school teacher, if I use that analogy that you teach them when you fail, as a school teacher, then I should only teach when people fail an exam. The ones that get 96s, I shouldn't. I should leave them alone. I shouldn't teach them. You got to teach every day. You teach through winning, losing, whatever the experience you're dealing with. We're too young right now. I got no idea how they're going to handle all those experiences going into the next game. This is all new. I got too many guys I'm going through it for the first time, and first time with, that is. The leadership in our locker room, it's a first-time leadership. If we keep this team together, which is the goal, next year our leadership will be twice as good. And everyone's been through it, so I have a better feel on how we're going to handle certain things. But I think we'll practice well today. I think we'll play well tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? Yeah, Tuesday. I really do. It's my expectation. This team is fun to be around. It's frustrating, but it's fun, And so it's all good. These guys are willing to learn. They're receptive to learning, and that's kind of what makes it fun to be around.
Nationally, there was a big story with Teddy Valentine in North Carolina, and then locally last night we saw Dawn have some issues with officiating. I was wondering your take on officiating in college basketball. Are there some things that you'd like to see improved, or are these just kind of 2 blips on the radar?
I'm not going to speak on Dawn's situation because that'll probably get me in trouble. I think Dawn handled herself a lot better than I would have in the same moment. We just went to Clemson. John, you've been watching us play my 6 years here. If I told you that we played 18 minutes in the second half and no one fouled our team, would you believe it? Well, that's what happened at Clemson. They called the last foul against Clemson with 18 minutes to go in the game. I don't understand. But I'm going to leave Dawn's alone because I'm just telling you, if I was in her shoes, I'd be in a lot of trouble this morning. She handled herself like she always does with unbelievable class in a very, very difficult situation. With Teddy, I'm disappointed in the Big Ten, man. I really am. Don't watch the clip that TV wants you to see. Watch the whole clip. Watch the whole situation. It's 3 minutes to go in the game, man. That kid wants to argue there, and you got to tech him. And should he have turned his back or whatever? Probably not. But you know what? That guy's got 30 years of equity officiating. Come on, man, please. You ask any experienced player that guys have been through it, any coach in America, you got a game and you have to win. If not, your season's over. Teddy's on the game. Everyone raises their hand and says, I'm in. I'm disappointed in that, man. I really am. You know what I would do if I was an official? He got suspended, I heard, right? I haven't. Did he get suspended?
He got taken off for 2 games, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I would have done if I was a Big Ten official? I would have said, take me off the same 2 games. That's what I would have done, because that's wrong. He didn't do anything wrong, man. He didn't disrespect. Please, you know, that's wrong. That's no play. I don't know what to say there. He's one of the best dudes that I've met in this business. And he treats every game as if it's like you can be playing a Division II opponent, and he works as if it's the national championship game. That's the kind of pride he has for them kids that are playing the game, for the coaches. He rarely texts anybody, rarely. He's not one of these guys who goes around and gives everyone technicals. Rarely does he issue a technical foul. I'm real disappointed in that whole deal.
Frank, talk about Colin Sexton a little bit. You mentioned last year's Bama team has the kryptonite of the big guards. He's kind of been the opposite of that, but he's leading the league in scoring, so he's clearly been a kryptonite for a lot of folks.
You know, you lose at Ole Miss, and you're trying to, like, patch that together with one guard off the bench. Come home and not play well and just get whacked. And wasn't that like the greatest line in The Sopranos every time I said, go whack 'em? I thought that was awesome. But you figure out a way to fight and win. And then, like, you go to dinner with your family, and you get home at 11:15 at night, and you say, let me turn on the computer. And you start watching them on film, and you're saying, he's a major problem. I mean, he is wound up. He's not a casual, laid-back, talented kid. He goes, man. And Avery does a great job. They put him in all kinds of different actions, on the ball, off the ball. He plays at you. He doesn't play around you. He doesn't play like when you're sleeping. I mean, he's coming at you every play. Our perimeter defense is going to be challenged like it hasn't been challenged all year. And the young man Petty's pretty good too. And then you combine the fact that Hall is played a lot of games and understands, Avery. And Daniel Giddens, he's a fourth-year college player, McDonald All-American. And now you throw Key in there, who's coming off that foot injury, and he's got more days under his belt, more practices, more. They're by the end of the year, that team's going to be a major, major problem for a lot of people. It's but they're good. But Sexton is a problem. Sexton scores outside, inside, off the dribble, off the catch. Like I said, he's wired to go. He doesn't just kind of wait for the game. He goes and attacks the game, and he's a problem.
This might be a little off topic, but I'm curious for your response on it.
Donald Trump?
No, not Donald Trump. Well, obviously you mentioned going to Alabama in light of the football game, stuff like that. I'm curious, have you ever crossed paths with Nick Saban? I know that he coached the Dolphins, been around Miami, and just as an observer of sports and coaching like you are, what things do you sit back from afar and maybe admire about how he runs his program, his winning, things like that?
Young man that played for me in high school, football player that played basketball in high school, Cedric Irving, signed with Coach Saban and was a starting running back at Michigan State for 3 years. When we were our high school team in '98 was in a tournament in Hawaii, and they were there for the Hula Bowl. Is that what it was called? And I went over to practice, and Coach recruited him, so I met Coach back in the day. I've always been a big fan of his. Really, really study his teams, how he handles things, and here's the part that I just absolutely love about Coach Saban. Everyone says it's hard to repeat. The reason it's hard to repeat is because everyone starting with the head coach gets a little fat from success. And the one thing he doesn't do is get fat from success. every day is a new challenge. Every day is an exciting drive to get better, to improve. He doesn't get consumed with what I call outside noise. He gets consumed with inside noise. And it's to be able to maintain the level of excellence that that guys like Coach Saban are able to do. You know, I grew up watching Don Shula, you know, as a young kid, and I just marvel at their ability to not allow previous success to impact their enthusiasm to motivate and teach that following day or the following year. You know, I had a friend said, you know, in high school we won a state championship in '96, and one of my closest friends said to me, you know, how are you going to get these guys excited about '97? I said, well, if I'm not excited, how the heck am I going to expect them to be excited? And if I allow them to work less, how are they going to accomplish more? So it's I'm a big fan. You know, at the SEC spring meetings, we always spend a couple minutes together, and he's always been very complimentary. And Anthony Grant, being at Alabama during Coach's tenure, was you know, a conversation. You know, just kind of led us to have conversations. And I'll tell you what he doesn't get credit for: how giving he is to organizations and to helping others in the communities, just not just in Tuscaloosa but countrywide. It's he's driven to succeed, and I don't know about other people. I don't like being around people that are not driven to succeed. I like being around people that are fearless of the work and the difficulties that success that requires to have a chance to succeed, and that comes with success. And that's how he's wired, and I try to pursue that every day myself.
Coach, speaking about being motivated by success, have you noticed an uptick in the team coming off victory where they've gotten the first taste of it in league play, won a little bit more in contrast to the down feeling after Ole Miss?
Yeah, our guys, you know, our guys had great spirit all preseason. We had great spirit in the preseason. You know, I sat here and told you guys, and you guys, this I did say, and some of you guys left here. There goes Frank again. Our schedule, numbers-wise, was harder than last year's schedule. All our RPI, strength of schedule, all that stuff at the end of non-league play, and we haven't put Texas Tech in there yet. Wait till you include Texas Tech into them numbers now, are better than last year's team's numbers were. Our guys had great spirit. I know South Carolinians understand this, okay? We didn't embrace losing at Clemson very well. Then we went on Christmas break. So we weren't able to go practice to get that out of our mouth. So that kind of sat with us. And we got back from Christmas, and we practiced, we tried, and then we went to Ole Miss and lost again. And we got deflated. And we held on to that, like, deflation, and then we got embarrassed. We were better against Vandy. We didn't play great, but we played with some determination. And let me rephrase that. We didn't shoot it great, but we played with determination and the desire that you have to give yourself a chance to win. And I think that'll continue. You got to figure out a way to if you never had the spirit, good luck finding it. But when you have it, it's just a matter of grabbing it again. And I think our guys have done that. Now, I'm curious to see how we go at it today. I think it'll be good. I think it's going to be exciting.
Last question, Matt.
Coach, you spoke about how, as student athletes, they can get mentally tired. How difficult is that as a coach to make sure they are staying mentally fresh throughout the season and aren't getting worn out too early?
When you got older guys, that's easy to gauge. You know, I like last year's team, they knew me like a book. I knew them like a book. I can care less what the freshmen were thinking last year. I'm just telling you, because I was so connected to all those other guys. So I can see it in Sindarius. I can see it in Dwayne. If for some reason I was not handling things a certain way, those guys, would kind of come in and let me know, like, hey, what are we trying to do with this? Or you're wasting your time with that. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So you're able to kind of gauge your team because you have an understanding of preparation and you can coach them through their minds more than their bodies sometimes. With these guys, it's kind of new. So it's like I told you guys early in the year. You guys remember I came in here, I said, I messed this up, I'm going to fix it. Okay? I didn't practice the way that team needed me to practice them. So they go out and play the way I prepared them. And I had to fix that. We had to practice differently. I was consumed with 3 games in a week and not being tired and all this other nonsense, and then we were not prepared to play anybody. We didn't have an edge because we didn't practice that way. We're too young to understand that. I'm sure we're going to play a game this year, and they're going to be exhausted, and we're not going to be able to figure out a way to win because we did too much. But that's the fine line that we walk every day as coaches, especially when you got young guys, is what's too much and what's not enough. And the only way you figure that out is going through it with guys and understanding them better. And that's kind of what we're doing right now. And, I hope I don't mess it up, but I signed up for the job, so I'm going to have to deal with it the day I do mess up that way. All right, guys, I got to go work.